All right, greetings, everyone, and welcome again to I Love Black People. Just wanted to give a heads up on this next episode, next show. Got a great guest talking about some really interesting and revolutionary innovations in the healthcare area for our people globally. I don't want to give too many details because it's really uh, taking some existing concepts and applying them in a different way. Again, this show is really focused on, the global Black agenda meets revolutionary innovation. So we're really trying to take new ways of dealing with old problems and to be, very candid, the real innovation and revolution is us. So we have to realize that we're the ones who are going to make the changes that we want to see. We are the change. We are the victory. We are the ones that actually have it in our hands to make this world to be what it needs to be. This particular episode, super awesome on the healthcare space. We got a young brother, super insightful. And I think another thing that this episode taught me was just looking at how, someone can have 50 years of experience and be wedded to a approach that has failed for 50 years. But what we need is disruptive folks to come in with brand new ideas, and that's what you see a lot in the tech space. Disruptive ideas, things that again that have been part of the status quo become. Now we got phones with smartphones. Now that disrupted that whole cell phone industry now. So now we have these powerful smartphones that are really supercomputers. So in a real way, how do we take what we have now and disrupt it? You look at Airbnb, what it disrupted the hotels. Well, those same things can be done in the healthcare profession as it relates to racism and xenophobia. That would be a powerful thing. Like, how do we take that innovation and make sure it disrupts the racism and xenophobia that we experience? So again, this particular episode, super awesome, and definitely want to give a shout out to all those folks who think outside of the box, not the status quo. We touch on the vaccine in this conversation. We touch on for the pandemic. We touch on just healthcare in general, disparities, racism globally. Super awesome, and just want to thank everyone for making this possible. Shout out to Brother Obi for the introduction, and thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoy the show. I am because we are.
Today's episode of I Love Black People on Howard University's Radio Voices on Sirius XM 141 is brought to you by the Global Green Book, a Black survival guide. The Global Green Book 2020, the Healthcare Edition, which identifies Black-friendly and Black-owned healthcare providers worldwide. A Black survival guide highlighting places across the globe for Black people. The Global Green Book, available on Amazon and iloveblackpeople.com.
All right, welcome, I Love Black People family. Today we've been blessed. We got a wonderful brother who's been putting in that work and studying and building in order to make our lives better. Sometimes you plant that seed and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. We got your brother, my brother, good brother, Abeku Dada. Thank you for joining us on I Love Black People today, good brother.
Hey, pleasure's all mine. Pleasure's all mine.
Well, let them know, because in this particular show, we really want to talk about healthcare and Black folks. And again, our whole agenda is the global Black agenda meets innovative, revolutionary innovation. And some of the things that we've talked about already, man, before we got the show started, about what you've been learning and what you've been developing is really interesting. Can you at least tell them some about your medical story, your health story, your people revolution story?
Most definitely. So yeah, I'm a child of a civil rights activist. So I always heard it in my ear that whatever I need to do, my daddy used to always tell me, whatever I do, whatever you do in life, you have to make sure you're serving people. So if you don't know what you're gonna do in high school, right? But Cuba came and said, hey, you can be a doctor for free. So I took advantage of that. I went to medical school in 2009, came out in 2016, became a doctor, and fast forward, I did a specialty, and now I'm practicing today. So one thing I want to say is in Cuba, they always teach you, no matter what your specialty is, you a community doctor first. And
Go ahead.
I remember I was sitting down in pediatrics. It was a liver transplant doctor, a liver specialist, and a pediatrician sitting down. And the liver transplant doctor said it so arrogantly. I'm a community doctor. I did 2 years of community doctor specialty first. So he's a community doctor first. So with that being said, um, today we're practicing medicine. I'm in the community. I just thought about something. My New Year's resolution was to bring the Cuban healthcare system back to the United States.
All
That was
right.
my
Okay.
that was my New Year's resolution, and I was figuring out why. I said, number one, why is the United States has put a blockade on Cuba and told Cuban doctors they can't come to the United States to help. That's number one.
Wow, I didn't know
And
that.
number two is I said, hey, we have the human resources. We have doctors. We have 200 plus doctors that graduated from the program here in the United States. So I said, hey, let me. And then we have, I don't know how many thousands of doctors. I graduated with almost 1,000 in my year alone. So we have thousands of doctors all over the world that would love to help and aid as well. So this first project that I've just been working on and trying to figure this out is one um, how can we get the Cuban the healthcare back into the community. Not even about Cuba. How can we get the healthcare back in the community? And that's what we're working on now. Going into the community, doing using what we call the Cuban method back to Cuba again. And the way the Cubans look at it, they call it the biopsychosocial method. In Spanish is biopsicosocial. Biopsychosocial method means that we are biological human beings. Yes, we have eyes, we have hair, we have heart, we have skin, we have fat, we have brain. So we have to keep that healthy biologically. Drink water, eat healthy, take a shower, brush your teeth, run, and eat cauliflower to help your heart, olive oil to help your heart. I don't know. You know, that's biological, but it's also a biopsychosocial method. So a psychological, we have to stay psychologically healthy as well. And then the social aspect of it is part of being healthy as well. So the social aspect is what stands out and what is lacking in the African community today, where the doctor is separated from the community. The doctor lives in Buckhead and he works in, I don't know, Bankhead. Um, and we're separated from the community. We don't live in the community where we are. We're not in the community. We don't know what's the problems in the community. The real problem why the people could be overweight is because we don't have a Whole Foods on our side of town. Or we don't have, we have 4 McDonald's literally within a 5 mile radius, or we just don't have access. So we have to figure out what's going on in the community. What are some difficulties, and to,
How can you tie that? And I think this just so that we can get folks who are really right now in pain in the states, dealing with the issues of the pandemic. How can we use that? I think what you're saying is innovative. And again, our purpose of this show is revolutionary innovation. And I know you're talking about things that have been applied other places. When you think about that approach, how do you see that right now helping brothers and sisters who are dealing with this pandemic, COVID-19?
so 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 I think the best way that we can look at that practically and look at how we can look at the biopsychosocial, apply that biopsychosocial method to this COVID-19 pandemic is one, we go into the communities, we do an assessment of the community, we see what are the problems in the community. Is it because of the community, the dollar store down the street ran out of masks, and they have to go 10 miles up the street just to get mask, or is it because they're It's too many people in their home. You know, they have 4 generations in their home, or what are the reasons? Or maybe they just are getting sick and can't even recognize that they're sick. You know, they can't recognize that they have a fever or recognize that the shortness of breath that they're having is COVID. So we're getting into the community. What we're going to do, we're going to go in the community. We're going to do assessment of the community. We're going to find the problem, and we're going to address the problem. It may be catching. It may be just catching COVID earlier. It may be giving out masks. It may be that everyone needs a pulse oximeter to see how bad their disease is. You know, but you can get
A
on
pulse who?
a pulse ox, and you put
What's
it
that?
you put it on you put it on your finger, and it tells you your oxygen levels.
Okay.
And
Awesome.
this would not only good for heart disease and lung disease, but it's good. It's a good predictor of when you need to go to the hospital or when you need more oxygen, which could possibly, you possibly could beat COVID. Well, most people beat COVID, but a lot of people are doing very, very bad, and the people that are doing very, very bad, we need to figure out a way to help them. And one way we could possibly help them is catch them early, put them on oxygen early, and they can be and possibly beat COVID. So that's another thing. So there's
Okay.
many different things.
So you hit one thing that was helpful, talking about how to avoid it and catch it early. Now, how about the process? Again, a lot of people in our community have dealt with the issues of healthcare disparity, the racist healthcare system in America. So there's a lot of skepticism about the treatment, and now you see so many people promoting Black folks taking the vaccine, and a lot of us and people who never seen anybody care about our health. Now all of a sudden it seems like ABC, CBS is so caring about us. How do you help somebody deal with skepticism but use rational thought to make decisions about vaccines?
So prevention. I think we're talking about prevention now. So the number of prevention is the best treatment. Um, in, in quotation. So treatment for any disease, the prevention of disease. So washing your hands, Lysol, alcohol, everything down. Don't transmit it. Put your mask on. Now, if we look at Cuba, if we look at um, other countries in the world who have eliminated infectious diseases that have affected and killed a lot of people, like measles, mumps, rubella. Um, I don't know. I can name a lot. The vaccination campaign has been the method that they're used. So a lot of us can't trust the United States. Let's look at it like that. Hey, we saw what they did at Tuskegee. We learned about how they learned the progression, how they know syphilis has 3 stages. How do they know syphilis can affect you 5 years, 10 years from now? Was a lot of people are skeptical. A lot of people read the medical apartheid book. A lot of people know
Right.
about
Guatemala, what they did to people in Guatemala.
So a lot of people can't trust the United States for a vaccine. But one thing Black people, since this is the I Love Black People show, one thing
Right.
that Black people cannot say is that Cuba has not stood on the right side of humanity
All right.
for the last 58, 60 years when we talk about the health and the well-being of African people. And they have used vaccines to help eliminate a lot of different infectious disease and pandemics. So I'm here in the United States, so I'm like, oh man, vaccines. Cuba used vaccines to help, eliminate a lot of diseases that are infectious diseases that at one time was the number 1 killer in Africa, infectious diseases. But at the same time, do I want to get the vaccine here in the United States? Can I trust them? Look what they did 30 years ago, 40 years, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. Look what they're doing today. Can I trust them? And then let's and then
No, no. Let's get to it now. But if somebody wanted to get a vaccine in Cuba, what would they do?
Same way everybody go to Cuba and get the miracle eye surgery, so they won't have to have glasses. The same way people go to Cuba and get their mitral valve replaced because it costs $300,000 here and only costs $20,000 in Cuba. The same way they go to Cuba just for vacation and just to learn about the healthcare system is the same way they can go and get healthcare and a vaccine.
All right. Yeah,
People
look,
from all over the world get the miracle miracle eye surgery in Cuba, all over the world, every day, including the United States. We can do it. You don't have to get the vaccine in the United States. If we don't trust the United States, we don't have to. And I'm not saying get the vaccine, but I'm saying consider if you want to get a vaccine and you are obese, you're elder, live with elderly people, and you want to consider getting a vaccine and you don't trust the United States, look at the studies in Cuba, consider getting a vaccine in Cuba. You can go to vaccine. You can get the vaccine from Atlanta. You can get to Cuba from Atlanta quicker than you can get to DC from Atlanta. You can get to Cuba from Atlanta quicker than you can get to California from Atlanta. So,
all right, so look, we're getting close to that time, and you really have hit some things that I know folks ain't hearing on the regular stations, and you're really opening eyes to show that as a people, we are global already, and we talk about a global agenda. It's not going to be a bunch of politicians. It's going to be some doctors. It's going to be some scientists, and what you're talking about is science. You definitely appreciate that. How do you connect your journey that you've been a part of? I guess, you said something about these scholarships. I want to hit that scholarship because there's probably people listening. If they in school or out of school, tell me about this
school. $250,000, almost $500,000 worth of scholarships of education. Go to Cuba, be a doctor, come back to your community and serve your community debt free. These doctors spending. Doctor told me $600,000 in debt. He's gonna be spending his next 10 years trying to pay his debt off. Next 10 years. He can't leave.
How much debt you got?
I got a lifetime debt of serving my people. That's what I have. I do not have $500,000 worth of debt like my counterpart.
Go ahead.
I do not have
$250,000, black man.
I do not have $250,000 worth of debt. Education is free. Education is a human right.
Okay, but you had to speak Spanish. Come on, give us I know people be like, this is too good.
Listen, I was born and raised in Atlanta. I never spoke Spanish a day in my life until I went to Cuba. I was in the class of 1,000 people, 937 people to be exact. We all graduated and we all said at the end, Spanish was the easiest part of it. Damn.
Wow.
Spanish was the easiest part. In 6 months, if you in Cuba, and for the men, if you're single, 19, going to Cuba, you see a girl you like, y'all gonna figure out how to communicate. You're gonna figure out how to say hello. All you gotta do is open, and if you go to the store and you get that man $10 and he owe you $5, but he only give you $2, you're gonna figure out how to say you owe me $3, brother. When you gotta use the bathroom, you're gonna figure out how to say. I'm telling you, my point is Spanish is the easiest part. In Africa, we're speaking black people. In Africa, we're speaking how many languages? We speak Xhosa, Susu, Mandingo, Wolof, Swahili, and then we speak a little bit of English. So if African people can do it, then we can do it. I think you're breaking up, brother.
Well, look, I tell you what, before we break off and wrap this up, I tell me what you got going next. Tell me what's the next phase in this. I mean, this is a good start. What are you going to do with this education and this process of making sure our people are healthy? What are you going to do next?
We got to figure out how can we decrease these health disparities. I have to figure out how can we, how can I serve the people more? That is my number one thing. How can I serve the people?
Well, what organizations? Because you mentioned some organizations before we started the show.
Yeah. So some of the organizations that I'm affiliated with, I know I had a brother. Matter of fact, in Cuba, when we first went to Cuba, I met this brother, and we saw all these African people from more than 30 something countries of African people, from the Caribbeans and Africa, the continent itself. We made an organization called the Organization of African Doctors. It was just an organization with the objective of making a develop developing intellectual science and intellectual conscience or consciousnessism as well. So we wanted a doctor. In Spanish, they say ciencia conciencia. That means a doctor, a conscious doctor. We didn't want to make a whole lot of African doctors that want to be plastic surgeons and doing butt lifts. We want and nothing against that wasn't a shot, but we want to make doctors who are to dedicated to serving community. So that's my whole thing. My I built my I'm about to build my biography right now. After and I just finished finished medical finished my training 6 months ago, less than a year ago. My biography is about to build now, and only thing I want to be on my CV, my revolutionary CV is serving the people, figure out how can we decrease health disparities, how can we teach the people, empower the people to become greater human resources for their people and for our people and for black people and for the
Man.
world.
All right, brother. I think that wraps it up. How can they get in contact with you? I know you got an
Yeah, yeah.
email. What's the best email?
Well,
Can you break it down
well,
slow?
I'll tell you right now, Howard is exclusive. Howard can get my phone number. Howard can get my email address, man. These are my brothers and sisters. My one of four medical um, 104 medical HBCUs in the United States. So Howard, they can text me at 678-751-9277, or they can email me more formally at at doctor. I'm sorry, dr like doctor dot Ricks Ricks a at gmail.com. And they can reach out to me, whether it's about the full scholarship to medical school and you're between 18 and 25 and you want to go, or your daughter or your sister or your cousin want to do it, or your roommate is a biology major and she wants to go to medical school but doesn't want to pay $250,000. Or it can be about building and figuring out how can, if you're an engineer, how can a medical doctor and an engineer come together to engineer a plan to serve the people. Or maybe you just want to talk and you need some motivation. Call me, and I'm here to serve the people, man. I'm here to serve the people anywhere.
Brother Abeku, thank you so much, man. Thank you for continue this legacy, the world for our unborn. Brother, I just again, this is inspirational. And when we hear young folks changing the world, this folks talk social media app, but what you trying to do and what you are doing, let's just claim it, is really the power that we need. And just thank you so much. And I want to thank all the listeners that joined us on this journey today for better healthcare globally for our people as our number one agenda as Black people. Thank you so much. I am because we are.
And now our weekly update on reparations from Mayor Colin Byrd of Greenbelt, Maryland.
Okay, so look, what I want to do in talking about reparations, frankly, is I want to put it in a context that we look as Black people. Look, if you look at the polling on reparations, Black people support reparations, and that makes sense, right? We would be beneficiaries of it, but I want to reframe it from people looking at it as Black people being beneficiaries of reparations and white people being hurt by reparations. Like, the reality is this: this isn't money that we're asking for charity or anything like that. This is money that is owed to the people that built the country. So once you start from that understanding, then you got to stop all of this. Well, my ancestors, blah blah blah. Well, the reality is you wouldn't be living in the country that you're living in without the unpaid labor of Black people and the exploitation and the brutality that my ancestors, your ancestors experienced for hundreds of years. And to this day, have to grapple with the vestiges of. I mean, we could talk about the impact on the racial wealth gap, but we could also talk about the fact that there are still forms of slavery that exist today that Black people bear the disproportionate impact of. Not everything is as plain as, somebody cracking a whip on your back. Um, so for me, I start from that. This is money that is owed, right? And if you look at the way that, you know, opponents of reparations look at money that is owed, right? You might hear people say that they oppose reparations, and at the same time, they don't have any problem with a bank charging overdraft. Think about that. You don't have a problem with a bank charging overdraft fees because they gave you money that you owe and you didn't, clear your balance on time. Well, we looking at 300, 400 years of overdraft fees. As Dr. King said, the Bank of Justice, I refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. And so, we are well, this 40 acres and a mule is well overdue. And we coming for interest. And so, that's where that is. If you believe in credit card companies being able to charge interest and you pay them back when you make charges, and you believe that student loans can have all this interest, by the way, I believe we need to cancel student loan debt. But if you believe in the notion of debts being paid, then you have to understand that this is not a debt that you can exempt from payment just because somebody didn't pay it however long ago. The reality is, Black people continue to bear the disproportionate impacts of that debt not being paid. And that's just where we have to go with it.
Today's episode of I Love Black People on Howard University's Radio Voices on Sirius XM 141 is brought to you by the Global Green Book, a Black survival guide. The Global Green Book 2020, the Healthcare Edition, which identifies Black-friendly and Black-owned healthcare providers worldwide. A Black survival guide highlighting places across the globe for Black people. The Global Green Book, available on Amazon and iloveblackpeople.com.